So how are you today, man?
Oh, I'm okay. I've had a long day.
I mean,
but it's a new place. Welcome to Arushi's house.
oh my god. I mean, yes, welcome home.
What are we talking about today?
Oh, today's a bit of a heavy one, isn't it?
It's a lot.
I think it's an interesting topic, and
Yeah.
I mean, if we're gonna have the conversation, we might as well have it in a safe space.
That's true.
Which I think this is.
This is where we come to let out all of our pent up energy.
And here we are.
All of our pent up energy from the week comes out in the podcast, so it's great. So good luck to everyone who has to listen. We're talking about body image today.
Oof. Yeah. I mean, it's weird, isn't it? Everyone has their own issues.
Yeah. Also, it was very interesting when we were talking about this because we didn't even know if that was the right term to use to kind of frame what we're talking about. But it was the most, I think,
conclusive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I did bring this up. I was like, I'm just not 100% sure if body image is what we.
Yeah.
I mean, it is part of it.
Yeah.
But I think there's just so much to it. It's not just about how you look. It's also about how you feel, and just so many things combined into one little 2 words.
I know. It felt. I don't know. Just not like.
It felt very generalized, calling it body image. So, but I guess the title of this episode might be something different.
Yeah, for sure. So. That's always a fun process, figuring out what we're going to call our episode. But I think there's been so many, we talk about all these TV shows that we watched as teenagers, and considering that's like really when you're going through so much with your body, I think it really like...
I think one thing that we brought up, or that you brought up actually, which was quite interesting, is that at least back when we were growing up, a lot of the, popular shows that we watched, I think also it was that period, like the 2000s and noughties, like when we were kind of at that age of like watching a lot more shows and watching a lot more content. Everyone was always skinny.
Always. Like all the main characters of a TV show were always like size 0.
Yeah.
And that was like
that
your
time, that period.
Yeah, that was your image of a pretty girl. And also the concept of like things like fat shaming and stuff were people were so oblivious to it. Like it was comedic.
It was very normal.
It was so comedic at that point. We have the most like basic examples, like all these shows that put people in fat suits, like Friends with Monica.
Yeah.
Which I know a lot of people, I've read a lot of articles and stuff about how problematic that was. And literally it was done just for comedy's sake.
Yeah.
There was no reason. Also, the reason she lost weight in the show was because Chandler called her fat.
Oh yeah.
And then the next time that they meet, she's skinny.
Yeah.
And I think that was just like also, that was your motivation.
Yeah. Not great.
Not great. Well, I think the other thing is that there was a lot of, you used a word, what was the word you used? It was like sensationalizing like eating disorders.
I think that when, especially when we were kind of getting into our teenage years, there was just that obsession with like, I know I went through this like period of just being really fascinated with like what an eating disorder was, and I don't know why, like I couldn't tell you like what my reason for wanting to know so much about it was.
Well, I suppose part of it is that it was just so highly depicted in TV shows and stuff. A lot of this created a very weird, I know I've gone through my fair share of like body dysmorphia, so like I've always fluctuated in weight like throughout my life. I was a very skinny kid. And then when I hit puberty, I just, a lot of that like baby fat that comes with that age. Yeah. So I really got into this whole like, I worked out and I definitely stunted my growth. Like I should have been taller than I am. I'm so sure of it. But I started going to the gym so early. I must have been like 10 or 11. I also hit puberty really, really early. Yeah,
I mean, I
like
got my period when I was
10.
11,
Yeah,
so
I
I feel that like it's quite young. But I mean, I did a lot of sports and stuff, but I don't think I ever went to the gym.
I started going to the gym, I think I must have been like 11 or 12. And yeah, I was very young. I was stupid. And then slowly transitioned into like running and doing more better things other than going to the gym. Even when I was at my skinniest, I thought I was fat. And then now when I look back at those pictures, I was like, why did I ever think I was fat?
But I think, yeah, it's a difficult one because I think you just always like, we're always told to like lose weight.
Yeah.
Right? So I feel like there will be a certain point, I think, in a lot of people's lives where they just don't even realize like where they're at.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or like what's healthy and what's not healthy. 'Cause like, I mean, I've had it in a different way or like a weird way where like I was quite a normal weight, but I was always called fat, right? And then, and I was always playing sports and stuff, so I just never understood it. Like, how can you be like overweight or like, because when you say things like overweight, that makes you feel not healthy.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But when you're eating right and you're playing sports and you're doing all the things in your means that to like be a healthy person, this has nothing to do with weight, right? Then if somebody uses the word overweight, then you're automatically kind of conscious, you know, like and especially at like 11 and 12 when like those words get thrown at you when you're going through a period where your hormones are fluctuating, your like boobs are coming out, you have like your period might be coming, like all of these things change your weight, it fluctuates. So I think to be told at that time like, oh, like maybe you want to think about losing weight or you know whatever, then like you automatically get very self-conscious. But I think like, I don't know, I think more so in uni, I started, when I first went to uni, I joined the cheer team in London, in my uni. And because we were training, 3 times a week, and I started going to the gym a lot more, because once you start getting active, you know, you feel like it's like an adrenaline rush. So I started doing spin classes. I was also like, in uni, I was just, I mean, in cheer, and I was also just eating a lot healthier. Like, I was actually very healthy. For somebody that was like, I mean, you're in uni, so you're partying a lot, you're going out, you're drinking a lot. So there's a lot of things that you're doing to like abuse your body. But I think I had quite a good balance going in that way where I was like working out 3-4 times a week. I was like doing my uni work, and I was also being able to like do like my partying and whatever. And I remember there was a point where someone who knew me from before like met me, and they were like, oh my god, you're so skinny. And it like took me by surprise, because I was like no, like I don't think that I'm too skinny, like what are you talking about? I'm just walking out and I'm being really healthy.
Active lifestyle,
exactly, like I don't think that I'm too skinny. And they were around for like a weekend, and they were just trying to plump me out, and I was just like, dude, like I don't want to like sit here and like eat lots, and because then that makes you feel crappy as well. Like, so it's like you can never win.
You know,
with this topic, I really feel like you can't. Whereas, I mean, my university years, I was incredibly skinny. I think when I first moved to New York, I gained a little bit of weight, and I was very conscious.
It's like a freshman 5 in it.
It was like, it was literally that. And I just, you know, you're in a big city, and you're going out a lot and drinking a lot and all that stuff, so it does affect you. I had a very active lifestyle in that just I walked everywhere in New York, you know, it was such like you just walk everywhere. But I was progressively losing weight after a certain point, and I don't think I necessarily noticed it.
Right.
And I was also, I think there was something going on. Like, I definitely blocked it out because my clothes were getting loose on me.
Right.
But I thought it was a good thing. You know, I was like, okay, yeah, I've lost that little bit of weight, but it just kept going, and I wasn't doing anything different in my lifestyle. I was sick I just didn't necessarily, I think I just blocked it out, because when I look back now, every time I would go out drinking, I'd be sick for 3 days. I couldn't handle it. Then it turned into food. Like I wasn't necessarily eating that much because I was really busy, so I'd have like a small lunch and a like normal dinner, and I would not be able to keep my food down a lot of the time.
Right.
And it just got to this point where it was almost normal. I was like, I don't know, maybe it's the alcohol in the US. So I started, drinking less. But even then, every time I drank even a little, it just really affected. I was like sick for like 2-3 days straight.
That's like,
it wasn't good. It was really not good. But at the same time, I loved how I looked. I felt like I could wear anything, and I was like shopping more, and I was doing everything because I was like, oh my God, everything looks great on me, because literally everything I wanted. Every year when I'd come back, I'd go for a checkup. They found like over 1,000 ulcers in my stomach.
oh man.
Yeah, it was really scary. I ended up in hospital for about 10 days, and then was on an liquid diet for 3 to 4 months. Like I was eating baby food and soups, and because I had to like grow back that lining of my stomach. It was honestly very scary. And now when I look back, I can understand why people were saying what they were saying, but I genuinely could not see it. Yeah. Like I have more pictures of me in that period than I probably do of any other period in my life, because it just, I was feeling so confident in my body. Like I can wear what I want to wear. I look hot.
See, I mean, like, it's so funny because I don't think I've ever had that in my life. I've always been told I was fat. I mean, not like all the time, but I always, like, it was kind of almost ingrained in my brain. Maybe also because, like, I always had, like, at least in my family, like my brother was just always, he's a boy, but he's just skinnier than me. He was like always do it like in football or something or the other. And like at some point, I think, as you get older, sometimes like especially at that 15, 16, I think a lot of times like people drop their fitness because they're either trying to figure school out or whatever. It's like a very stressful time, right? I always feel for like all the 15.
Yeah, it's a really hard time.
It's such a hard time from 15 to like 18, trying to figure your entire life out.
I mean, and then for us specifically, we weren't even at home during that period, from the age of 16.
Well, I mean, I was back and forth. Yeah.
For me, from 16 to 18, basically, other than summer and winter breaks, I was in Cody.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's just like that period is a transitional period in so many ways that I think, for me, sports and fitness and all of that, it wasn't really at the top of my radar, right, at that point. And so I kind of, not that I was unhealthy or anything, I don't even think I actually put on that much weight during that period of time, but I was always just kind of like not skinny. Do you know what I mean? Or not like
what's portrayed to be
be skinny, or like in that way, right? And I was just constantly being told that. But so that's why when I went to uni and then I started finding like my way of being fit and whatever, I really enjoyed that. And then to have somebody come out and be like, you look too skinny, it was like, annoying. Like, what the heck?
Yeah, it's like you can't really win. I felt the same way.
But then I think later on during those London years, there was a point where I put on a lot of weight. Again, transitional, like, with things like birth control and all of these factors. Dude, they do not tell you, like, birth control is the worst. I mean, it's obviously like,
if it works for you, it's great.
This is a whole different podcast. But like it didn't work for me basically. Birth control didn't work for me, and there were so many things that were going on, and I put on a lot of weight that I only realized I put on when I left London and when I was in Singapore. And I was like, dude, like, what the hell? because when I was in Singapore, I was on my own, so I was just doing my own thing, and I don't know exactly what it was that like made me like become like my more normal weight, and I realized at that point how much weight I'd put on. And so I looked back and I was like, oh my God, like why did no one tell me that then? When I was skinnier, I was being told I was too skinny. But when I was actually at like an unhealthy normal weight for me, no one was telling me those things. So when I look back at those, like that last like year and a half of me in London, when I look back at pictures, I'm always like, oh my God, it's not like I was fat or like huge, but it was getting to that point of like my unhealthy weight.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Right. But again, a lot of that has been fed into us of this is, I mean, okay, yeah, we have our healthy range and stuff, but even if you are a little over, like that's what I'm kind of going through right now. I am definitely a little over my normal range, or a lot over. I don't know the last time I weighed myself.
Dude, I don't weigh myself either. I just think it's not necessary.
But I do know, like, I don't feel great in my body right now. I wear, like, looser clothes. I generally, I'm not happy. I know that. So when we were kind of prepping for this episode, I was like, oh, this is like, I know that I'm not in the best, like, shape of my life. But I'm not fat.
I think going back to what we were saying in the beginning, like, that's why kind of, like, putting this down to just body image, like, it's not just about how you look, like it's how you feel. And like in that, I have to say, like when I was like heavier, like I say that quote unquote, I think I was just happy. Like I was stressed. There was a lot of stress, but in general, I was just quite happy. So I didn't even notice, like it wasn't something that I even noticed that happened.
Yeah. Were you in a relationship with
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm so jealous of the people that get skinnier in relationships. I don't know how you do it, but like there's a correlation. Because like
I guess when you get comfortable and then if you're in a happy place, usually you're like not thinking so much. I mean, I'm not saying that. I think that there is a happy middle. There is. There definitely is. Let me just put that out there. And I think that after like Singapore and then like, you know, going to do my master's and doing all of this, I've come back to like my normal levels in a way healthier place. Like I do yoga as much as I can. I know that I'm a lot more conscious because I've broken my arm and obviously there's so many things I can't do or that I'm struggling or trying to figure out what the best way to go around it is. So I found it even more important to do the things that I can do because it's not as easy for me to just be like, okay, like you're going to play tennis, fuck it, I'll come with you. Like, you know what I mean? Like I might not be able to because my arm is just...
Well, now you have a rod in your arm now.
Not a rod.
Oh, what is it? Oh, it's a screw. Sorry. I'm supposed to get my thyroid checked because I do have thyroid issues in my family and I haven't checked.
Dude, I mean, my gynae has told me to go and get everything checked out anyway, so we might have thyroid issues.
Yeah, I don't know. Because my grandmother and my aunt both have thyroid issues.
I mean, I have other issues, but let's not get into that. I think that, you know what, this week has been really difficult for me as well because I know I've been prescribed vitamins, right? I think this is quite interesting as well for what we're talking about. And I've never been prescribed a medicine to take every day, like for a period of time, like for my well-being.
Oh.
Right? Like, you know, it's like, even like when I had like quite heightened anxiety and stuff, and I would get flare-ups of eczema. The only thing that I was prescribed was antihistamines to take as and when. So it made me feel really sickly.
Oh,
But,
yeah.
like, I'm not like it's just I just need to balance out a few things in my body, and it's not a big deal. They're just vitamin tablets, but it's made me feel really like
Yeah. I mean, I know, yeah, I know that feeling. That happened to me when I was sick, because after I was discharged from hospital, I literally had to have, like, before I ate, I had to have, like, 3 things. Then after I ate, I had to have another 3 things. I just felt really, like abnormal. Like, why do I have to do all this in order to consume food, which is seriously the most basic thing for survival. I have to take 3 things to line my stomach, then I have to take 3 things to make sure I digest the food. It was just it felt, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
It just felt like, ugh, I don't.
it's just really like icky. Like you don't want to feel that way. And as somebody,
There's a dependency also that comes with it.
and like I don't like taking medicine anyway.
Yeah, in
so
general.
it's kind of like, oh, I need to remember, and it's like twice in the morning, like two tablets in the morning, 2 tablets in the evening, and I'm like, I need a pill box. What if I forget?
They make some really cute ones now, though.
I know they do, but it's like, it's just one of those things that, you know, when you talk about like feeling good about yourself and, you know, keeping yourself at a normal, and sometimes these things have to be done to keep you at your normal, but they don't necessarily make you feel that good.
Yeah. I mean, but we can't deny that we're not old. We're getting older. We're growing into maturity, and I think a lot of this comes with it. And these are things nobody tells you about. Like, maybe you will have to start taking some vitamins, and maybe you will have to start doing certain things, like checking your thyroid, because my aunt was like, I was diagnosed around 28, 29, so maybe you should get it checked. And like, I have had a lot of weight fluctuation in the last few years. She's been telling me, she gave me a whole list of blood tests to get and all these things, and I was like, oh my god, it's like 10 different tests.
Dude, I have blood tests to do as well. It's just not great.
Don't want to age.
Going back to
Our relationship with food.
yes, our relationship with food. I think in general, like, everyone goes through like ups and downs of like, you know, I think one thing is we're always told that, like, you know, you need to have 3 meals a day. But I don't know about you, like, I find it really difficult to eat breakfast.
Yeah, me too. I'm not a breakfast person.
Not even that, like, I don't like eating in the morning. I have, like, I don't know, like, I used to get really bad, like, stomach issues, right? So for me, if I used to wake up and have something to eat in the morning, I would get, like, not an upset stomach, but my stomach would just be hurting, right?
Yeah.
For, for a few hours, right? I thought it was a lactose problem for a really long time, but I don't think it is. So, like, we've been through it with that stuff. And I think when you feel your body's in pain or, like, you know, whatever, you change your eating habits accordingly.
Yeah.
But then that can, like, harm your body. So I know, like, when I was, like, around, again, those years of, like, transformation
Yeah,
and
your teen
change, your
years.
teen years, at about 15, I just got into these really bad habits of, like, just feeling full after very little amounts of food. And I don't think that I was ever consciously, like, not eating.
Yeah.
I don't think it was me. I wasn't starving myself. It wasn't something that I was consciously like, I don't want to eat that.
It was like portion control. Was
I
it?
mean, I don't know, because
think I
I
did that.
genuinely thought I felt full. So I don't know if it was like my brain that was like just like coaxing me, or, you know, if I was that delusional about what I was doing. But I know a few friends picked up on it, and they would get super angry at me, you know, for like not eating. I'd have like a bowl of cherries and be like, okay, I'm so full now, you know, or like one cookie and be like, oh, enough, like I can't eat that. And my friends would get really vexed about it, like.
I think I went through something similar.
But then I feel like when your friends get annoyed at you, it's like they're getting annoyed at you.
Yeah.
And I think that, like, that made me feel really crappy, because I was like I don't, like, first of all, why do you care so much about, like, what like my, you know, about what I'm doing or whatever? Secondly, like, you know that I eat small portions, but like lots of them, like I'm constantly snacking, so like I don't think there's a problem, and they just look at me like I'm absolute, like I was crazy. But I think also at that time it was when that whole infatuation with like eating disorders and stuff was coming up, and it was really weird. Like, I mean, I wouldn't say that I ever had an eating disorder, right? But I think at that point of time in my life, it was something that constantly like was on my mind. Yeah, so I think it like comes down to like the media that you watch. Like one of my favorite shows, Skins. In the first series, like which is season 1 and 2, the first set of characters that we have, one of the main characters, Cassie, she had an eating disorder. I think she was anorexic. And I think it was season 1, episode 2, we can check. The first time that you meet Cassie, basically what they did in Skins was each episode was named after a character, and you would follow their life for that episode. But like obviously get to see the other characters as well, because they were all in the same friend group. And that's how they built.
But kind of like the POV would change.
Yeah, a little bit, or like you would get more of an insight into one of their lives.
For the duration.
Was it kind of like Orange is the New Black, where every episode?
Kind of, ish. Yeah. That's a good ref.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in the first episode that you meet Cassie as a character, you see her like going to the rehab center, and like, you know, how she went about like fooling the nurses and stuff, putting weights in her pocket and all of that kind of stuff, like drinking lots of water and all of that. Cassie basically, like, there was one scene in that episode which like stuck with me, where one of the other characters, Sid, asks her, like, Cassie, how do you get away with it? Like, how do you get away with, you know, not eating? Like, and they're sitting in the cafeteria, okay, of their school. And she basically like fools him into thinking that she's eating, but she isn't. And so so the way that the camera kind of captures that scene is really interesting, because she's like cutting up her food, she's playing with it, she's not taking anything away from her plate, but she's looking like she's like
eating.
Yeah. And so no one notices.
Oh wow.
You know, and then by the end of the meal, she's just put plates on top of hers and put her plate away, and no one's realized that she hasn't even had one bite of food. And I don't know why, like in those years of my life, that scene was just so, like, it's just stuck with me. And I found it so crazy that like people would do that. Like I would say that I love my food. Like I absolutely love eating good food, and I love going out to good restaurants, and I'm constantly looking for like food to eat. Like,
same.
you know, like food is
life.
life. We've done a whole episode on it, and it's so important. But then like on the other hand, there's so much of this like this culture around like not eating, which like we feed into as well, because we've seen it so much.
TV.
I mean, our favorite Gilmore Girls, when Rory is in college, she has those like that whole Logan's friend group. There's one girl who literally like counts her peanuts and stuff like that. And like all that, but it was so nonchalant, you know? It was so normal that she was doing that. Like, it's not like they tried to like make it seem like a bad thing or anything. It was a joke, again. Like, I'm gonna count 5 peanuts and then I can't eat for 3 days.
Yeah, but I think it's also like in Mean Girls, the way that they kind of went about the whole like I want to lose weight thing with Regina.
That was that was bad. Yeah, to fit into a dress. I mean, I think there's been so many examples of that, losing weight to fit into a dress, or
Yeah.
this is coming up, so I gotta be in shape for it. I mean, we see it so much with like weddings and stuff too.
Yeah.
You know, people go on these like crash diets to look their best for their wedding, and even This Is Us, like Kate's whole struggle with going to like her support group and stuff.
Yeah.
And I thought it was very interesting what they did by bringing in Madison, which you actually mentioned, because she had an eating disorder and the rest of them were overeaters. But hers was, again, she would, what's the word, binge?
Yeah, she would binge.
She would binge and purge, right? And so she found herself in this Overeaters Anonymous class. And it was very interesting to see that relationship and how they kind of found solace in each other,
Yeah.
even though like they don't necessarily have the same issue. But then everyone looked at Madison like she was crazy. Like, why are you here? You're a skinny girl.
Yeah.
I thought it's interesting. It's an interesting depiction, and I think they definitely handled it better. You know, they've definitely shown the whole eating struggle and the relationship with food struggle in a very interesting way.
I think it was just portrayed in a very real life way.
Yeah.
There was no attachment of like, oh, this is better, or this is normal, or this is weird, and you shouldn't do this and you shouldn't do that. It was just, this is what someone goes through and this is what someone else goes through, and you might not understand any of it, but you can sit here and accept it.
And then there was also the thing where like she and Toby actually met in that class, right, or that support group.
Yeah.
And Toby started losing weight and she wasn't. And that was also very interesting to see, because everybody is different. And we are never really, that's not something that's told to you. Like, your body is going to be different. You have to understand what's going to work for your body. And for me, it's taken me so long to even understand that about myself. Like,
Oh,
why is it that if
100%.
I do a diet, it's not necessarily going to do the same thing for me? Or if I work out in a certain way, I don't necessarily lose weight as easily. Like, I know where I gain weight. All these things have taken so long to understand that, like, this is specific
You
to
just need
my
to
body.
understand your own
Yeah.
body. Yeah.
And that was definitely like a very real portrayal of that, I think. But again, she struggled so much, and she started like hiding things from him because he was losing weight. I do believe though that the actor was actually put into a fat suit.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he wasn't, because now if you see him, he's a lot
yeah,
skinnier. That's actually how he's always been, and I think they put him in like some kind of fat suit,
Interesting.
which I read about when we were doing research for this, which I didn't know. But even in real life, we're seeing so many more people like Lizzo. Lizzo is such a huge proponent of, loving your body as it is. And, I don't know if you like follow her on Instagram and stuff, but she's a very healthy eater.
No,
she's
she's
vegan.
very like vocal about like what she eats and
She's
everything.
like, she's just like, I like my body this way. She's just been a big, in like real life, a big
But even
advocate.
Lizzo's actually come out and said things like recently, actually, saying that like it's really annoying that I have to be an advocate just because there isn't anyone else out there like me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like she doesn't really have a choice. Like
Yeah.
whether she is or she isn't, she is.
That's true. I mean, but that's being very like responsible with your platform as well, right? We talk about this. Like she's fully aware of the platform she has and
Yeah.
the image that she's portraying, and she's just taking that and saying, okay, this is my responsibility, because nobody else is willing to
gonna
take
do
that
it.
responsibility on.
Yeah.
And even like Ashley Graham was like the first big like plus size model. She's not that big.
No.
She's not that big.
But you say that. Barbara Palvin, she was considered plus size as an angel.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Because she wasn't a
I
size
mean, this is
zero.
exact-
I remember like when that whole with talking about supermodels, when that whole like 0 is not a size thing happen and they stopped
yeah.
that was like I think a major shifting point for a lot of this. But even then, it took a while before people started like coming out, and I think it was also like the rise of social media, and
There was a huge, like, kind of, what's the word? Facilitator for, like, just normal bodies,
yeah.
you know? For lack of a better word.
I mean, I think it's there's two sides to it, right? Because with social media came the rise of like the Kardashian bodies and all of that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think social media has such a, like, there's
It's
so
such a
many
duality.
good things. Yeah, there's so many good things that came out of social media, but obviously there's so many, with all the good comes all the bad.
Exactly.
And so you had like, oh, the rise of filters.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Jamil is a huge proponent of all of that. Like, she really is very loud and talks about it a lot. She has a podcast called I Weigh, which is quite interesting.
Yeah.
She talks to people basically about this, about like body image and the portrayal of bodies on social media, in media. And it's been quite interesting to see how she's been, she's debunked a lot of these like pills and smoothies and all these things that became really big on social media, and she's just like, none of it works. Like all these people that are selling you these things have personal trainers and dietitians and nutritionists and all these different things that is keeping them looking the way they are. It's not the freaking tea. And then she talked about it being like either it was constipation tea or diarrhea, one of them. She's like, it's going to give you something like that. And I just think that a lot of these people have really come out, and I don't know if it's her that does the filter thing, or is it someone else that talks about the filters?
I don't know. I know that Jessie Nelson from Little Mix has had her say on like Instagram with about filters and stuff. Like, she's put up stories like with a filter and said, "Oh my goodness, like I don't even recognize myself."
Yeah.
So like what is even going on with my face? And it's so crazy that this is supposed to be normal.
Yeah.
And I think like I don't remember when, like just a couple of days ago, somebody, I think it was just like a regular like TikToker. I don't think it was a celebrity, but somebody basically like came out against TikTok for putting a filter on her video when she didn't put anything on her video.
Oh.
Yeah, so she kind of came out and was like, TikTok, why are you putting filters on my videos?
That's interesting.
Which I thought was quite,
I mean, there was that whole like, there's all these like challenges and stuff that happen. There was one where people took a picture of, again, I think it was a TikTok challenge, of themselves with a filter and without. And that was a big thing. I saw a lot of people doing that. But yeah, it's really created this whole like, there's a certain way you want to look and present yourself.
But then who was it? There was somebody that was saying like you can't follow, like even these things about like the shape of your body, or like anything like how you do your hair, or like how your face should look. Like they're all trends, and trends come and go. So you can't base like, sure you can change your clothes, right? But you can't go and change your freaking like body every single time a new trend comes into place, because your body's your body. Like one day it's small tits, the next day it's big tits, one day it's a flat stomach, and then it's a big ass, and it's like you can't have all of those things. Like it's just not even humanly possible for most of us. Maybe there are the odd people out there with like who can achieve all those amazing things, and kudos to them, but it's all genetic, isn't it?
And that's an interesting thing to say, because genetically, and then genetics also comes back to like being brown girls. We gain weight and lose weight in different ways than other people. Every culture is not the right word. Every
race,
every
ethnicity.
You'll have different body types, and you do tend to see that I think Indian girls gain more weight on their hips.
Yeah.
And you know, like I know I do, like that's the first place, and my hips and my arms are like my first place to just like blow up when I gain weight. It's disgusting. And my face, I gain a lot of weight on my face, and I think that's different with.
But I think it also
depending on your
comes down to your
genetics.
diet as well. Like we see a lot of like older brown people that have like, you know, their belly weight, and it has. I think like, you know, it's also because of our diets and the amount of rice and carbs and stuff that we eat. So the weight goes to different places. And
I mean, like most older Indian men, like our parents' generation, they all have that like. It's just the paunch. Like there's no fat anywhere else. It's just the stomach. It all goes. It's all localized to there. So it's very interesting to see.
Yeah. I think it's just like you need to do what's best for your body, and I think also it comes down to like growing up, especially as third culture kids. Not necessarily. I mean, I'm not, like not necessarily being able to see brown women on screen all the time. You're idealizing an almost like impossible like body type, because that's not, we don't have that either.
Just in preparation to discuss this whole episode, we were like, we don't have much brown content this time, and we were like, we couldn't find any really.
Well, not that we could relate to. I mean,
Unless you're gonna go pick something and say, okay, just because this is a brown person, but it's not like something that we've watched and.
No, I mean, I think there are a couple, like there's like one prominent one, like Bollywood, which was from, what was it, Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gham, right? With Laddu. But like there are examples. I mean, brown culture is like notorious for fat shaming. There's so much fat shaming, forget media-wise. Even just like like in your family, you have people that are constantly talking about, they feel like they are allowed to have an opinion on your weight, right?
Why? Why is it that you can like meet some like uncle or aunt you haven't met in 3 years and they're like, oh, you've lost so much weight or you've gained so much weight. Like, who the hell are you? Why are you commenting on my body? Yeah. I mean, like, I know I definitely have family members that every time I meet them, it's like there has to be one comment. And it's like, why?
When I moved back here, I was meeting family after like 5 years or something like that. Obviously your weight is going to change, like, and like men and women. It wasn't even like, you know, only like the women that were coming. It was everyone felt like they could have an opinion, and I was being told left, right and center, oh, you're so skinny. You're so skinny, you've lost so much weight. And I was like, we met 5 years ago. I mean, I've grown up so much. I mean, you met me when I was like 20, 21. I'm 26 now. Like, I mean, life happens, right? Like, it's okay. You don't need to shove it in my face. You know?
But just the whole concept of even commenting on your body, like, why is that? Why?
No.
Why?
It's a really bad habit.
Yeah.
It's a really, really bad habit. Because again, like on one hand, like in the, like, you know, even like back in the day, it's like if you were like slightly like overweight, like if you were more healthy, like then you came from a wealthier family, right? Because you were able to eat. But then still, like, it's not okay. Because that you have to be skinny. Like, I don't understand. Like, what do you want me to do then? I can't be fat and thin at the same time. Like, I can be me and you can accept me for me, but then you still feel like you can have an opinion on what the best weight for my body is. It's like, oh, if she's tall and she's skinny.
Yeah.
But like, why are those the only two things? Like, I'm sorry, you know? Like, I just don't understand. Like, this whole thing about height and the whole thing about weight.
Yeah.
It's those two things that are constantly brought up, especially in brown culture, by every like older family member.
Well, there's a third one. How fair you are.
Oh, that's a topic for a different podcast.
I know, but I just had to mention it because that's a huge thing.
yeah,
too.
But that is a huge one. But I mean, that gets its own.
It gets its own episode.
Yeah, I mean, but it's just, I think our culture is very nosy, you know, and it's not even like that. There's no like, oh, you should like I don't even think there's like helpful tips to like get you to X, Y, and Z. It's just, oh, you're too skinny, feed you more.
You know?
Oh, and then like, you know, when if they think that you're like slightly like overweight or like fat, then like they don't do anything.
Yeah.
They'll comment and
but
then
there's
there
no,
won't
like,
be
yeah, there's
anything
nothing
done,
else.
you
Yeah.
know. But if you're skinny, then you'll
Feed
just
you.
like it's like plumping a fucking chicken. Do you know what I mean? And it's just so bad.
Yeah. It's
Oh, that's all you're gonna eat? Eat more. Why? Let me eat how much I want to eat. And then it comes back to the relationship with food and like how all, I just feel like it all connects, you know, in so many ways. And then growing up in freaking like a Western setting where like their ideas and ideals are so different from brown culture that like you're sitting in the middle of this weird like thing, like mix of like cultures that just don't mix when it comes to this specific area.
Yeah. I mean, I think it just always, I know I'm still learning. I don't necessarily, there are definitely days where like I hate my body. There are other days where I'm like, oh, you know, I'm not like, it's not so bad.
But don't we all go through that?
Yeah, exactly. But it's also like the learning process of some of it now you just kind of have to either be okay with or then
Work on it.
Yeah. And I don't know, it's interesting because there's so much, we talk about this a lot, that there's so much to take in terms of social media with something like this topic that it sometimes I get confused even in that aspect because like we said, it's such a duality because one post will be love yourself and appreciate your body and all this stuff, and then literally you swipe and the next one is like this perfect ideal image of this beautiful
you know
person.
What? I think basically have to like remind yourself that you're perfect for you.
Yeah.
Because I think like it's the same thing that we talk about with like, you know, like what we like to do and what we, you know what I mean? Like all these different things that we don't like shit on ourselves for like liking certain things or like being, you can't like change like who you are, right? You can't change who you are personality wise. Like, yes, there are things you can work on. And, you know, if you feel like you are a certain way, then yeah, like, of course, take that time, understand that whole thing about yourself. You should know yourself the best. Yeah. You have to spend the most time with yourself. People will come and go, right? Whether that's your family members or a significant other or friends or pets or whatever, like everything comes and goes, places come and go. We've been through all of that stuff, right? And I just feel like you have to make yourself your favorite, like your favorite person has to be you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, but it's so hard, you know? It's easier said than done.
As long as you can remind yourself that all the time, because it's been a journey for me too. I don't think that I'm anywhere close to like being completely fine with who I am. I'm learning things every fucking day. And like, even when it comes to like, I really want to like, you know, be more active, but then to try and be more active, especially in a time Corona, where like things are closed. You can't go for classes. You can't do this. You can't do that. Your motivation is down. You have like, there's so many things, like hurdles, that it just gets to a point like, fuck this, I don't want to do it, right? So you also have to give yourself that space, and you also have to cut yourself some slack. And I think that's what we don't do enough.
Yeah, I agree.
Especially with the two of us. Like, I can't speak for the entire world because I don't know everyone in this world, and you know, maybe there are some like lazy bums out there who could be doing more. But I know that between the like, with the two of us, like, we do a lot. Like, we're so hard on ourselves when things don't go well and things are like, you know, like, oh, I should do this. Why am I not doing this? Why am I not doing that? Like, we're so hard on ourselves in every aspect.
Yeah.
But like at least for the two of us, we need to cut ourselves some
We
slack.
do, and I think, it's so funny because we'll always like, I have not been the most consistent with working out, which like upsets me. And I'll talk to you about that a lot, and I'll be like, I feel like I'm not doing what I should be doing, and then on the days that I do, I get really excited, and I'm like, oh my God, I worked out, I feel so good.
Yeah.
But like you said, there's been so much going on that, especially like when you bring it down just to like our lives, like you and me, we've had so much happening in our lives in the last year that you're right. Like I don't think that I think that enough, that I need to cut myself some slack and like, okay, you're like a couple kilos over what you want to be, okay, but
Weight comes and goes too.
but I know, right? But
we've just talked about.
I'll still shit on myself all the time, and like even with this, like when we're recording, I'm more conscious about what I wear, or like, my face will be in a weird way, and I'll be like, oh, you can see my double chin, or you can see my like fat arm, or all these things that I get really, everyone has, but I think you're right. It comes and goes. It'll go.
You've just gotta love yourself. Like RuPaul says.